What do you love about Chicago?
I just love the diversity of people in the city. I love that you can get on the train, on the bus, just walk around and see people from all walks of life, all different ages, ethnicities, backgrounds, languages. There's so much food that, the culture of all these different groups of people and individuals is what makes Chicago so great.
You're listening to Notes from Chicago with Ashley Phillips. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this week's episode of Notes from Chicago. Today, we have an amazing guest here to talk about something really important that's going on in Chicago right now and has been for the past several months. Her name is Mimi Guiracocha. She is from PUÑO Rapid Response Team in Pilsen, and she is leading that. We're going to talk about that today. Mimi, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'd love to zoom out a little bit. One thing, I've lived in Chicago for a very long time, but I'm not from Chicago, so I have lots of family and friends all over the U.S., and I've been trying to explain to them, what's going on with Chicago in regards to ICE and what I really view as like the harassment and terrorizing of neighborhoods. So I would love to hear from you. Like, try to explain to people as in realistic terms as you can about what's happening on the ground here.
Yeah, unfortunately, with Trump's second presidency in his inauguration in the end of January, he said, all right, according to him, right, get rid of all the violent criminal immigrants in this country. Unfortunately, due to quotas that have been put on how many people need to be detained every day and deported every day, Kristi Noem deputizing all these different federal agencies to basically do the dirty work of ICE. Since these days, now with, the Operation Midway Blitz, we have just seen more ICE agents, more federal agents working, as ICE agents, just terrorizing our communities, coming in, and really they don't care if you are or you're not undocumented. Certainly don't care if you have a criminal history. They'll just detain you. If you look or fit the bill of what they're looking for, they'll take you. And then they'll ask questions later. There's no due process. There are no rights that are being respected right now by these federal agents. This is why we call them kidnappings. This is why we call them abductions, because they're plainclothes men just coming in, barging in to, your car and just taking you, dragging you out. And later they find out, oh, you are U.S. citizen, right? And so that's kind of the stuff that's happening right now, is just this terrorizing of neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods of color, communities that, are immigrant communities that make Chicago great, right? We just talked about this, and the diversity of Chicago citizens and residents. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is just a terrorizing of neighborhoods and people just taking random people from the streets, unfortunately.
Let's get into your work at PUÑO. First, what does that stand for?
Pilsen Unidos por Nuestro Orgullo, Pilsen United for Our Pride, or PUÑO. Also, PUñO in Spanish, it means fist. And if you think a lot about like solidarity initiatives, people will just kind of put a fist up in solidarity. So it's a symbol of also the solidarity of organizations and community across Pilsen and Chicago.
Tell us what your role is at the organization.
Yeah, so I am one of the leads for our rapid response team with PUÑO, and that just means being able to have some of the historical knowledge and ensure that we're working kind of coherently in tandem with our own group of PUñO, but also within the larger network that we're a part of.
I live in Wicker Park, and my kids go to school in Wicker Park. And one thing that we've experienced firsthand is a few weeks ago, and there is still a lot of activity in Wicker Park, but it kind of kicked up a couple of weeks ago. My kids' school went on lockdown, and there were reports of ICE agents knocking on car windows in the kiss and go line for parents just dropping their kids off at school and harassing people. Also U.S. citizens, where I need to see proof of citizenship, just because they're not white, and it's so disturbing. I think both to see that obviously happen in your community, but then also for the kids, like coming to pick up my kids after school that day and seeing these kids get let out. they are traumatized, and they're traumatized like they haven't even seen, you know, some of the things you're describing or the videos, but just like that kind of anxiety of someone's going to come get us. Like, can someone come get us? And it's really upsetting. Like, it's really upsetting to it's just all of it. It's like so alarming, you know. It's just really alarming that this can happen.
Yeah.
So, one thing though that you know I've seen firsthand, and I know that PUÑO has been a part of as well, is just seeing how the communities have come together, and I think that's sort of like the weird silver lining here of like seeing that. Talk about sort of the different things that you've seen there and that your organization is helping with.
Yeah, certainly. Well, like you mentioned, right? Anybody, kids, adults, citizens, non-citizens are being terrorized right now by our community. And I think one thing that stuck with me as you were mentioning kids, actually, just to go back really quick, is there was kids in a classroom and it was Halloween, right? Halloween season, and ICE just threw tear gas. And I, read a story about a teacher who had to close the windows because the kids in class couldn't focus and couldn't learn because they started tearing. Their eyes started tearing, they started coughing
Yeah.
because there was tear gas just deployed outside their building. And kids on Halloween, they should be celebrating. They should be being creative and celebrating this, oh, I get to eat candy. I get to just be a kid. And instead, they're coughing and they're choking and they're tearing up because of the violation of judges' orders to not do that, right? They don't really care and they're so lawless, and they're the real criminals. And I think that that's really important for us to remember, is that they claim to be going against violent criminals, and the data shows that the overwhelming majority of people who have been detained and deported have no criminal history. And even if they did, no human deserves to be treated like that. And that is the dehumanization that they're trying to sell to us, when really they are the criminals that are masked up, that are coming out, that are taking people, that are tear gassing kids, and just terrorizing communities. And I'm not the only one who sees that. You're not the only one who sees that. There have been so many people that have come out and have said, I want to join, I want to help, I want to be part of this movement of people that are defending their neighbors, people that are defending their communities, people that are defending themselves, because we know that we keep us safe, right? We can't trust in law enforcement to keep us safe because they're the ones terrorizing us, right? Federal agents are the ones that are terrorizing us, and this government is allowing that to happen. And so some of the things that we at PUÑO have been able to do is, well, first, we are part of the ICER, which is the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, the network with ICER, and then Organized Communities Against Deportation. Those two institutions, they're giants in the work of deportation defense. They've been doing this for many administrations, not just Trump's administration, Obama's as well. And they have, the historical knowledge and the systems in place. So we are one of, I think, at least 40 different rapid response teams in the Chicagoland and Illinois area that are doing this work. We have been privileged that we have also been able to put on training. So one of the things that we do is, for people that want to get involved, they can come to one of our trainings, where we talk about how to identify ICE, what to do, how to create a team if you don't have one, or how to join your team if there is one in your area. To date, I think we probably have trained nearly 1,500 people,
Wow.
which is how many people are just coming out. Every single time that we have a training, the registrations get filled. I think the last time it was filled within like 12 hours, because people are just trying to come and learn, come and support their neighbors. And I think that that's been a beautiful reception of the work that we're doing, is that we also do canvassing. So we go and we knock on neighbors' doors, we go to third spaces, the lavanderias, the laundromats, go to businesses and tell people, here are your rights, give them the literature that we've made with Know Your Rights information. And people come out and canvas with us too. In the cold and the rain, they're
Yeah.
out there talking to their neighbors, saying, we keep us safe, here are our rights. There's been things that just multiple things that people have come out to because they want to. And I think that that's a beautiful reception of the community, and that's a beautiful thing for us to remember, is that we're not just sitting here and taking it, we're resisting.
Talk to me a little bit about what happens in those trainings.
Yeah, so we have people that come by and we take them through 2 hours of kind of a history of the law, the legislation, kind of what brought us here, that the protections that we do have, the things that are happening, and then how to identify ICE, and then the second half is more about, okay, like a little more of the information about Migra Watch teams and how we function, rapid response, the network itself, and then a little bit of, just, all right, now let's get to try this out. And then, of course, afterwards, we'll connect them with their local rapid response teams, if it's not us here in Pilsen, so that they can get activated and connected and do the work with their own teams.
Are there rapid response teams all over the city?
Yes, yes, there are. I think there are at least 40 of them actually, and not just the city of Chicago, but like the Northern Illinois region. So that includes suburbs as well.
You grew up the daughter of immigrant parents. Is this something that you ever talked about growing up, or anything you thought
Mm.
that could happen here?
Yeah, I think that so one thing that we do in our trainings actually is we start out and we ask people what why is this issue important to you? And we have them put on a sticky note, and then we put the sticky notes, around. And I think that as we hear those, and then people share out. And the powerful stories that we've heard, like time and time again, right, is either people that have that lived experience, and I'm going to share some of mine in a minute too, of
Yeah.
like, I'm a part of a maybe, mixed status household, or my family are immigrants, or I'm an immigrant, or whatever it might be. Um, to then also people who say, I don't, maybe that's not my story, but it's the story of my neighbor, it's the story of my friend, it's the story of people that I know, and that it just isn't right. We even had somebody that said, I am the descendant of freed slaves. And, like I don't want that to happen to anyone else, right? We don't want that captivity. We don't want this. We stand against these injustices. And it's just beautiful to see all these different communities, regardless of their lived experience, whether they are, you know, whether their families are immigrants or well, I guess we're all immigrants because this is not our land, right? Like, how can you,
Yeah.
we're on stolen land. Let's be real there. But regardless of people's backgrounds, it's just beautiful to see that we have this common sense of purpose and we're saying like this ain't right. This isn't right. We can see it, we can sense it, we know in our gut that this is not right. For me, growing up the daughter of immigrants, right? Like I said, I'm proudly made in Ecuador. I was, my mom was pregnant when she came to this country with me, and I was so privileged to have been born in this country, right? That I've had to kind of be the bridge in a lot of ways in my life. From my family not speaking a lot of English to, now they do more, but to me, having to learn English,
Right.
from, being a citizen and having the privilege that comes with that, to having to do all these different things, right? I've been this in between, right, of like the oppressed and the oppressor in many ways in my life, and that's been a really heavy burden to carry. But growing up, I knew about Migra, I knew about La Migra, I knew about ICE, right? Because they're the ones who come and they take your family. They're the ones who come and rip apart your family. And talking about kids being traumatized, like, it was scary. It was like scary to not know, is something going to happen to my family? Is something, someone going to detain them? But it wasn't as bad as it is now, right? Like right now, there are literal people just abducting anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
And but because of that, because of just some of that fear of myself growing up and the racial discrimination, even by just police, right? It doesn't even necessarily have to be La Migra. I've always been very aware of the color of my skin, of my mom's color, right? Of her accent, of her Spanish versus English. And I have been aware of those things and I've tried to celebrate them for the most part. But right now it's scary because if they hear you speaking Spanish or they see you brown and shopping at Home Depot, right? They can come and get you. And my brothers, who are significantly younger than me, when Trump's first election, he got elected, the next day my mom said, your brother came up to me and said, Mom, what's going to happen to us when you and Dad get deported? And that was like, that hurt so much. And this was like his first presidency, right? Imagine now when he actually has come and doubled down like full force. I can't imagine how tough it is for kids. And I talked to my brothers about it, who are a little bit older now, and they're still scared. And because we do have those family members that, regardless of their citizenship status,
Yeah.
could still be targets.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's so heavy and awful. I mean, your parents must be so proud of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I hope so. Not to get too emotional, but like I do this for my family, but I
Yeah.
also do it for everybody else's family because no human being deserves to be harassed, to be taken, to be kidnapped. No one deserves to be detained at a detention center for days that was not meant for detention long term, right? No one deserves to be shot at, for their cars to be taken, to be tear gassed. And certainly no one deserves to die for coming here to try to make a better living for their family, right? And we know this happened with Silverio Villegas Gomez. He was shot and killed here in Franklin Park. And I can only imagine his family and his kids. Just dad never came home. My husband never came home. And this is the thing that people are humans. They're human beings. They have a family. And like what I was mentioning before, something that I've loved about my city is that I get to see people like in the train, and I'm like, where are they coming from? Where are they going? I see a grandpa with a grandkid like playing, at the park, or a couple having a picnic, or whatever it might be, and I just see the beauty of Chicago and its citizens, its residents, its inhabitants, and to think that that can just be snatched away because you just fit the bill of these, agents that are coming for us. It's just very, very sad because we don't deserve that.
No, no one deserves it. You have a background as a nurse in public health. How did you get involved in this work?
This is public health. The work that we're doing right now is public health. It's the health and well-being and safety of the community, of the public. We saw that especially at the beginning of the Trump presidency, half the kids, at least from my neighborhood high school, stayed home. They weren't going to school. They were scared to go to school. They were scared that their parents would get picked up by ICE or they would get picked up by ICE. So attendance to school, it was probably even lower than COVID times, right? Like it was people were scared to go. So that's public health. Education is public health, right? People were missing their appointments to go to the medical provider's office, right? To see their doctor, their nurse. They were staying home with chronic conditions. And that's the thing. These communities that are being harassed right now already have all these disparities, right? We already have faced all this environmental racism. We have already faced like health disparities when it comes to chronic conditions due to that environmental pollution, right? High asthma rates, high diabetes, hypertension, all these different things. And yet we're scared to go to the doctor, right? And so people aren't seeking medical care. They're not going to school. They're scared to go to work. They're scared to go grocery shopping, to just eat food. Like, that is public health. It is affecting the health and the well-being of our communities. It is an emotional toll. It is a mental health concern and issue. Like, I am so certain that even in a year, 2 years, a decade, these kids are going to be seeking therapeutic resources because they're going to be scared and traumatized. These people whose families were torn apart. I don't know if you've seen videos, but I've seen videos where kids are just yelling out in like a way that they should never have to yell out their parents' names and saying like, I love you to their dads. Like that is public health. And we are fighting like we're fighting for the health of the public. And so to me, it's not different. It is one and the same with what I do and what I'm passionate about. As a nurse, someone who cares about the community, as a public health professional, someone who sees that it's all connected. So that's kind of maybe not answering your direct question about how I got involved, but it's how I see it all come together.
For people who live in Chicago and are seeing, what's happening around them, what is the most effective way for them to help? I think, something I maybe less so now because I feel like there are more resources out there and more resources are known to less people in less vulnerable positions. But I still think there is some like a feeling of what can I do? I feel helpless, and like how do you advise people to get involved and make sure they don't feel helpless and kind of like take advantage of this moment?
Yeah, well, come get trained. Come to a training. We
Yeah.
have trainings, and I'm happy to share that too. the resource. And we have a couple that are, I think, already filled up for this week, but we're always putting on more. We, and as in PUÑO, and there's a bit.ly, it's like bit.ly/MigraWatch training, so people can come in and get trained, and then we can connect them to their teams. I know that ICER also does virtual ones on Wednesdays, today
Mhm.
being Wednesday. They also do virtual ones, and I do believe that those are also Spanish and English, so they can go to the social media pages for ICIR, ICIRR, and get trained, and then they'll connect you to your teams, or they'll help you create a team that is a part of the network. But right now, I think that one of the most important things is to not do this alone.
Yeah.
And that's why we do these trainings, and that's why we work as a team, is because we need to be organized. It's not just Mimi the vigilante who goes and sees ICE, because ICE can come and try to do something to me, right? But I need to be connected to a network that knows my emergency contact, that knows who I am, what I look like, where I am at all times, right? We need a team to say, oh, we witnessed this. What do we do now? We have footage. Where do we take it? We have a family whose family member was detained. How do we get them legal support? That all comes with being a part of the network that we're a part of. That comes with being in community, and that comes with being organized, right? We need to come together in this moment and
Mhm.
be with each other, even if it is just to sometimes not just think strategy, but also come together and just mourn and grieve and debrief. Like we are, our team did this because we successfully got ICE out of our community. There was a whole caravan coming through here,
Yeah.
and we caught in our cars and we're like, not in my neighborhood. And we thankfully successfully were able to do that, but that was a scary thing, right? Like us just
Yeah.
jumping in with people in our cars and doing all this stuff. And we had a debriefing moment where we just were real about, like, how did that feel? How did that go? And just the feelings in that room in that moment. Like, I cannot imagine doing this alone. It is so vital that we do it together. And so when people are trying to harness this moment, like you said, and be involved, is find a group to get trained by, right? ICER, that's your first stop. Come to, our trainings, and you can find them on our website, pilsenunidos.org, or on our, Instagram, Facebook pages. Come and just join a group or create a group, because we need each other right now, because we keep us safe. Like, I don't keep us safe, we keep us safe.
Yeah. That's a great point, and I think a nice segue into talking about Puño and what Puño does, and has historically done, and how it started.
Pilsen Neighbors Community Council it's an organization here in Pilsen that had already built some community, some trust with folks and different organizations, and so they called a meeting of kind of an institutional table meeting with different organizations, churches, schools, public institutions, elected officials,
Mhm.
that just came together to think about, how do we respond in this moment? How do we both respond, proactively, to what is to come or what is here now, but then also, how do we elicit and inspire hope in people to know that they're not alone?
Mhm.
And so that became the institutional table. And we didn't have a name back then, and then we came up with the name Puño. And at the same time, different organizations, and Pilsen on the ground, we're also thinking about, well, how do we also do that rapid response on the ground work? How do we get trained and be a part of the ICER network, be one of the local rapid response teams, and also be part of this larger institutional table? And so there was the institutional table of Puño, and then the rapid response team that, I'm one of the leads for, that was created by different organizations that came together, whether it was the 25th World IPO, or the, PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, or different other organizations, PNCC plus and Neighbors, just individuals that were like, let's do something, right? Coming together and saying, okay, let's get trained up, let's train other people in the community, and let's form this group, let's be a part of the network and do all this work. So that kind of helped to start both this larger group of people, including elected officials, who gave us information about what's happening, legislatively, and what's to come, or what can be done, and then this on the ground group. Now, what we've been able to do with rapid response is this beautiful thing that, allows us to advocate for people and advocate for laws and advocate for things like, Welcome to City Ordinance, the Trust Act, and other things. It allows us to also educate our neighbors on know your rights. So
Mhm.
we go and we canvass our neighborhood. So, Puño has been doing canvasses every weekend. Please sign up if you want to, and you can, on our social media pages. and then also doing education for community on Migra Watch trainings on what to look out for, how to be a part of the
Yeah.
work, and then also, how to offer support, how to do mutual aid work, how to connect people to food, especially when they're not, they're scared to go outside. And then the active Migra Watch part, right, of actually going and watching and doing the things that we have the right to do, which is to
Yeah.
record what's going on, to make sure that people's rights are safe, to educate people on their rights then and there, to ask ICE agents to identify themselves, right, to do that work as well. That is all legal and good, even though it's being criminalized right now by the government. So those are all the things that we do as a rapid response team, as PUÑO on the ground. And it's been a wonderful thing to be a part of that. It's hard, but it's great because people are really receiving it well.
What would you tell people, either who live in Chicago or don't live in Chicago, about Pilsen?
I love Pilsen. It feels like home. So I was born and raised on the north side of Chicago with my family in Albany Park, Irving Park, like around that area, and I moved a lot. I'm the daughter of not just the strongest immigrant woman, but also a single mother.
Hmm.
And so I moved around a lot. And my stability was my family. My stability was my community. My stability was being Ecuadorian, was the language of Spanish, was the food of my people, the traditions. Like that was my home. My home was my people. My home was my family. My home was my mom. My home was her love and the love of my family. And so, living in Pilsen feels like home.
Oh,
It's like the best way that I can put it. Pilsen feels like home because one of my favorite things to do is walk down 18th Street in summertime and just hear the sounds and see the sights and smell the smells
hmm,
of like the pan dulce or the kids playing the playground or like, the elotero, which is the guy who like, sells the corn or the paletero like trying to sell ice cream on the street. Like these street vendors who unfortunately right now are being persecuted as well.
yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing to see like the culture and the colors and the vibrancy, the people that say hello to you, being able to speak my native tongue of Spanish and to be understood and to feel like I belong and that I'm a part of that community. It is just home. That's the best way that I can say it. It's home, it's lovely, it's homey, it's welcoming, it's vibrant, it's colorful, and that's what I'm fighting so hard to keep right now because, we can't let that be dimmed.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you taking care of yourself? You talked about how this is both, I think this is just a heavy burden. This has been a heavy burden for you,
Hmm.
kind of partially that role you were playing growing up. And now, as you've very eloquently described fighting for your community, and helping people in your community and, within the city as well, or across the city as well. How do you take care of yourself? How do you kind of keep sane?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Um, the same community that I fight for keeps me sane. My family and um, yeah, just talking to my mom and remembering like I'm doing this for her, and that kind of gives me a lot of strength. Being in community, even with the people that know what it's like going out and going to eat or to talk with people has been so good. Sometimes after some of our meetings, we've gone to get ice cream, just like at La Michoacana in Pilsen, and we're just talking, we're eating ice cream about how difficult it is, because not everyone understands how hard it is to see this and to respond to this and to live in fear and to like anytime I hear a whistle or a car honking, I'm like, where is ice, right? Like that's really tough. But being in community with people who know what that's like has been really beautiful, and just getting to know them and to be a part of them and them to be a part of you. I also have a lot of plants, so I also just love taking care of other living things, and being like, oh no, my water, I have to water my plant. I haven't watered them. Maybe I need to like also water myself right now to be cheesy there, but like,
Yeah.
my plants are a good reminder of the self-care that I also need. And in this moment to keep going, going to watch plays. Like my friend just put on a wonderful play. Um, no trailers. And, that was so beautiful. And just, I got
Yeah.
to laugh and experience that joy of being in community and realizing that like art is also resistance, right?
Yeah.
And coming together and making this play, watching this play, that creating music with, myself, that journaling, like all this stuff is really important. People that are writing poems about this, people that are doing visual art, like this coming together to fold our literature or to build our whistle packets, like to screen print our bandanas. Like, yes, we're doing the work of rapid response, but we're also in community with each other, and that's been really beautiful to do. And at the same time, also like, I don't know, rest is good and it's important and it's helpful and it's good to be sane. But there's also something that's like everyone is tired right now and people are scared. And I want to also ensure that we know that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Um, and nothing can really take that away. Like I'm always gonna feel that way. While this is happening in my community, like I'm going to feel some type of heaviness and a weight in my heart. Like I can't just disconnect and unplug from that. My family can't. Our
Yeah.
neighbors can't. They can't just be like, okay, now time to, like self-care, spa day. Like they can't. They gotta go to work and they gotta go to work scared. They gotta take their kids to school and they gotta take their kids to school scared. They gotta go and learn and they gotta go to learn scared that their family isn't gonna be there when they come back. And so I try to balance those things, the reality of the seriousness of the situation and the fact that like I won't fully rest until we collectively rest and also like how to keep going and keep being strong in the community that is around me.
That is beautiful. Just really, really beautiful. Um, I'm going to ask a lighter question. Um, when you have friends come visit, where do you tell them? What are the things you tell them that they have to do in Chicago? Like, what are your
Mm.
must-do recommendations?
Come to Pilsen. Come and visit Pilsen. Come and visit Pilsen, the village, the southwest side. I think people sleep on it. People sleep on that, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful food. We have the National Museum of Mexican Art in Pilsen.
Mm-hmm.
We also have like the Garfield Park Conservatory, which I love plants, as I mentioned, so I like love going there, and it's free.
Yeah.
And going to just go to different restaurants and there's also a drive-in theater in Pilsen people don't know about that,
Oh, yeah, behind So 5.
yeah, it's like it's right there by Cermak and Troop.
Yeah.
And yeah, just come in and just be a part of that. And right now, if a friend were to come and visit me, I'd be like, let's go like talk to our street vendors and get stuff from them because they're scared and they're coming out here. They're here at 6 in the morning, selling tamales champurrado. And unfortunately, like all our tamalera in Pilsen, like, was detained.
Yeah.
And by ICE too. And we know that that's happened to a lot of different street vendors. So come in and give them support. I would say go and see the businesses that have the ICE is not welcome here sign and go in there, right? Go shop there, go
Yeah.
eat there, go do whatever it is that you need to do that their business offers, or just say thank you to them. Um, yeah, but that I also grew up on like I mentioned, I grew up on the north side, and um, I love our Chicago libraries. I think that those
Oh,
get
yeah.
slept on as well. They have a lot of different they have different programs, and I have a friend who works at the Bridgeport Library, and they have like ESL classes, and then they also do all sorts of really cool stuff. And I think I fell in love with libraries when I was in high school or maybe even middle school or high school. There's a library called Seltzer Library up by I don't know the neighborhood because I didn't grow up knowing that neighborhoods existed,
Yeah.
actually. I
It's
didn't know that until I was in college.
I think it's Lincoln Square. Yeah, it's like
Maybe Lincoln
North
Square. I don't
Park.
know the neighborhood, unfortunately. I didn't even know I grew up in Albany Park or Irving Park until I went to college, and people are like, "What neighborhood are you from?" I'm like, that's a thing. And the north side, the neighborhoods don't matter, I don't think, as much as they do
Yeah.
here in the southwest side. But um, yeah, Salter Library, they had like these windows that just looked out onto the main street, and I would just sit there, and they had 2 floors, and I loved it. And then even before that, I used to go to Irving Park Library. Then it got burned down, it got rebuilt, and now I don't know if it's still there or not. But I love libraries. Like you can go and read a book. I think one of my first Spanish books that I got, like a thick book there, was from the library. And I'm like libraries, our parks, our conservatories, and then just being around, I think is helpful, and just going outside and getting to witness the beauty of the people of Chicago, because there's nothing like the people of Chicago in this world.
Totally agree. Mimi, thank you so much for all of this great information and sharing your love of the people of Chicago, the neighborhoods of Chicago, and the communities of the Chicago. Really appreciate all the work that you're doing. It's so valuable and essential right now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for highlighting our work, and hope to see some of your listeners in our trainings and joining the fight right now.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Notes from Chicago. This podcast is edited and produced by Tanisha Blakely. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Notes from Chicago on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.